Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Adventure of the Heart, Building Wisdom Through Experience. Now, we've had a little bit of experience today as we're getting started here, um, and we're here to have this experience in whatever way it shows up for us today. And we've had just a few technical difficulties, with all the energies that are going on right now. But our hearts are here, our hearts are open, and as Lynn, my co-host here today, V. Lynn Hawkins, she always says, open hearts, open hearts. And then we have some special guests here that I know you're all here to see and hear about the ancient wisdom of the heart. And we have Chief Robert and Terri TallTree here tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And Lynn, why don't you chime in and, because you always have so many wonderful things and good things to add to everything. So come on in and introduce yourself and introduce our guest, and let's get started. Get this party started.
Thank you, Cynthia. I am so excited to be here. I have to tell you that every time I am in the presence of the TallTrees, it just lifts me to another level. And I'm so grateful that they were able to be with us today and that they're going to share some of the wisdom that they have learned and share throughout their communities that extends into ours. So I'm so happy that you're all here with us today. My name is V. Lynn Hawkins. I am the founder of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, which is a Skyhawk Enterprises company. And I just am so in the space of heart and of love and of social entrepreneurship, because that's what a social entrepreneur is, someone who shares their heart through their business and helps to eradicate the various causes of dis-ease among people and just discomfort among people, including entrepreneurs. So I'm so glad you're here with us today. Cynthia and I have been talking about this for weeks, and now that we're here, let's just enjoy this. I'm going to hand it back to you, Cynthia.
Okay. So today, we have the TallTrees here. Their business is how to live on purpose, howtoliveonpurpose.com. And I've had just the privilege and honor to be a part of their teachings, their education, and their love. And one of the wonderful trainings, and I don't even I'm not sure whether to call it a training because it is just a part of who I am, and it's just been offered to me from just a place of love, and it's their Miracle Mindshift. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, to help you all get an opportunity to experience the TallTrees. And so I'm just going to have them come on in, and like we said, we're going to be talking about the ancient wisdom of the heart and where that all comes from and their understanding. So I'm just going to turn it right over to you two to introduce yourselves and tell us more about why we're all here together, what brought us together. So.
Mojunin dinwe maganak, kanosam tegentis nakas, omash kus nedvedam, menokishikat.
I'll translate for you. TallTree just greeted you very, very respectfully in our Ojibwe language, and what he said was, hello to all my relatives, all my relatives. My name is Tree reaching and growing toward the sky. I am Elk Clan, and today is a good day.
This is how the first Europeans heard us when they came to our land. We spoke to them in our language, in a language that my great-grandmother, who was one of my teachers, said that paints pictures in your heart and your mind. And so when we speak it, some people will say, oh, like when I say bonjour, I mean, they say, oh, that means hello. I said, actually, it's much more like a heart-embracing kind of a hello.
I see the light
I see the light in you is what really is even more accurate to that when they say bonjour. So the language is very beautiful, even very romantic to a specific degree, but initially it's one in which I have been taught to always utilize, especially when I stand before people of greatness. And that's what most individuals don't realize, is that that's what they look for. They look into the eyes of the individuals that were standing before them, and they would take and greet them that way to honor their heart, their mind, their spirit, their people of the land right now, and their ancestors all at once, by taking and doing that, to give them high regard, to give them high respect. And it's also for me doing the same. I am then honoring my nation, my people, those that are walking upon Mother Earth, in the present, in the future, and even the past, because the time and love and passion and wisdom, time is irrelevant to those particular things. It's continuous. It's a continuum. I expect one day it may meet a circle, but I'm not sure if it's just to begin another. And that's the way all things have a tendency of beginning, is within circles. And that's where we are here. Our paths crossed each other because we live at a higher vibration. And as people have a tendency of living in a higher vibration, then they attract other individuals that are of similar vibrations, or up or down, it doesn't matter, but they all have a tendency of being almost like magnets. And so they resonate with you when you speak. It's the same as what you, Cynthia, have and what Lynn has. People resonate with you because of your higher vibration. And what it is almost like reaching down to them and helping them with a loving hand to take and come up, to see their greatness, their light, and be able to see that they have things to do, as my uncle would say. I have things to do, my Uncle Young Thunder would say. And it was a great statement, because that's initially what we all have to do. It's something that we continue to integrate. We wear different hats within our lives. We've taken our, sometimes, Terry's been a wife and a mother and a partner and a business associate and ran corporations. And so she's taken and worn different hats, and she will continue to wear different hats as time goes on, as the need is necessary, as long as it's in alignment with her passion. And that's the key point, is that people forget to try to start to integrate the aspects of what really they're here for. Whether they really gives them that vitality, that smile, that levity, that funness of life. To be alive itself is relevant to the aspects of weaving that within your life. Those things which really resonate with you are important because they were put there for a reason. And according to the native elders, that were the key components of why I'm doing what I do, is because they've influenced me so much within my life as a young man, is that every human being has a purpose. There are no accidents, and that within the aspects of when Nodin, the wind gave them the first breath, within that breath that was given to through the love and care of the great mystery, it was also implemented a unique gift, or numerous gifts in which they have, which are relevant to purpose. And so when people are taking and talking about purpose, I say to them, what are you passionate about? What do you really love to do? And they say, well, I do this as a hobby. I said, really, you need to do that as a life. You need to integrate that into who you are, because that's who you are. And then you will find that what you do is, some people call it work, but you could call it play. And once you get an integration of saying, I can't believe people pay me this much for how I play, then you know you're in the right place.
Yeah. Oh, Lynn, I can just feel her going, I want to speak to this.
I do, because there are so many of us, and I speak from my heart, I speak from my own experience, that I got caught up in the, I really want to do this because it's making me the kind of money that I want, but I'm not happy, although I'm interacting with the people and I'm doing this. And for me, it was the team building and the career development and the business mentoring that I was able to do for people on my team that showed me where my heart really was. I was good at the work that I was doing, but my heart was in the other things that I was doing that were alongside of the work, and that I thought for a while were things that I was just doing that was extra. Didn't really realize that that was my purpose calling. So I totally get what you're saying there, and I appreciate that too, because when I realized that that's what was in me, it was the germination of a seed that I still allowed to grow. I nurtured to grow, but there was a lot of fear involved in it. And so, as I think about the fear that people go through and just thinking about this huge thing, my purpose, oh my God, Speak to that for us. I would
Well,
love to hear
what's
you.
smarter than the heart? You know, it's a science. It's a known science that even as the circles come together to start to form a human being, the first thing that they identify to be able to say that there's a human being coming, waiting to become, is the heartbeat. And so it naturally, when you think about that, it logically is where your spirit or your soul is also located, right there in the essence of your heart. People wonder where it's at, and I said, well, that's where it began, but then eventually it started to expand and fill all of you. So there's not any part of you that's not in touch with your heart. But we as human beings, we get caught up that whatever other people think we should be doing, and then we become human doings rather than human beings. And so I totally understand where you're coming from. And it, unfortunately, the majority of the populace upon our Mother Earth are caught up with that particular syndrome. And it takes a while before they come to the point where saying, I'm not happy at what I'm doing, or I'm not happy in this relationship, because basically everything is relationships. And the first relationship I have, of course, is with me and the Creator. And then from there, I ask the Creator to give me the strength and the power and the ability to be able to take and have the clarity to make better choices. And invariably, that connection comes through your heart. So everything goes through the heart itself. That's where the power is. And when people start thinking, how does this resonate? Does this make my heart hurt my heart? Because it does. Sometimes it really hurts their heart, the things that they're doing. Or does this make my heart really feel big, really feel full? And energetically, everything is connected. And so when we teach, we often teach with utilizing a medicine wheel, which is a perfect circle with 4 equal compartments to it. And we will teach about the mind, body, spirit, and the emotions. And I say to individuals that just close your eyes and check within yourself when you're making a specific decision, which is going to be really, could be detrimental to your way of life. Check within yourself by asking yourself, how is my mind about this decision? How's my body about this decision? How is my emotions about this? How is my spirit about this? And if everyone agrees, then go ahead and try it. But if you got some disharmony there, then that circle will not rotate properly. It'll be out of balance. And so it's a simple little thing which people can take and do and start to apply on a regular basis. And it only takes a few seconds, and you're worth taking that on everything that has a tendency of changing your path or your journey in life.
Yeah, I could just sit here and listen to him all night.
I could too.
And
I love. Did you see Cynthia's smile when he started talking about the heart? It was so great. Cynthia, your smile like filled up the entire room. It was so beautiful.
well, you know that's my favorite subject.
I do.
And when Robert's voice, whenever I'm listening to him, he speaks right to my heart. And this is the thing when he was speaking to, the heart. The embryonic heart cell is the first cell upon our conception. And it makes, from there, it's making more cells, which make up the heart. So there's a muscle cell in there, there's brain cells in there, there's all these cells. And, then, like you said, the heartbeat. So I'm sitting here smiling, hearing all this, because it's just everything that I want to share with people. And the heart is the central communication center of every single one of your cells. So when Robert was saying that to you, it's every part of who you are, all of that. But I was also smiling because I remember, when Robert also was talking about, our hearts we hurt ourselves, or cells, whenever we, have a discordant energy going on. And I used to speak about, being separated from love. And I remember having that conversation with Terri, and then Terri says, oh, Cynthia, we're never separated from love, but we are sometimes unaware of our connection to it. Always. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, you're absolutely right. We are always connected to that source, that love, your heart. And your heart is what's connecting out to everything, not just every single cell in your body. It's connected to everything beyond and out, into the universe, into the cosmos, into beyond even that, source, that one source, that divine one, and the creator. And yeah, that's that soul. I don't know if I shared this with anybody before, but I, in some of my studies, I found out that the heart surgeons, even when they do heart transplants and things like that, they have been saying that there's one spot in the heart that if they touch that the person dies. One spot. I'm wondering when I read that, because it never said what that spot was, or, is that the first cell upon our conception where the soul enters in from? And then, and all of a sudden if you, hit that, bing, here you go into that fullness of life. I'm not sure. But either way, just to know that it's right there. And some people talk about it being the sacred heart, or maybe just beyond, underneath the heart, or whatever. But is it really something that's physical? I don't think so. I think there's some energy. It's that energetic level. So, and I know there's some ancient wisdom in that. So I'm going to turn that back over with Alexa. I want to hear more.
We know that our being is more than our physical body, and that much of what we experience in reality is a filter of our own awareness. So far beyond this physical form, this physical body, the physical muscle and organ of the heart, far beyond that, we are light. And the frequency of that light is so high. When we are born into our physical form, we are born somewhat into amnesia about the fullness of our being. But the presence of that divine source is within us and within all beings everywhere. Everywhere. And so our ancient teachings, our ancestors teach us to have great respect and great love and compassion for all living beings. And when we speak of the heart, we're speaking not just of an organ. We're not just talking about cells and physical mass. We're speaking of the essence of that loving compassion that bind all things together. In the East they have a word for this, and it's ananda. It's the love that binds all things together. And when they say bind, they don't mean it in a way of something that's constricts, but rather that expands us. It's the beauty and presence of that divine light. So when we are speaking, when Robert's talking about the heart, the reason we're all like hanging on every word is because he's speaking a great truth, and it's a truth that we all recognize and we all feel and embody. And we lean into that because it feels like home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the thing is that what has been manifested here in this physical realm is so filtered by by what we believe that it really inhibits us to really expressing or even being able to see what really is here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, initially, when the native elders had a tendency of taking and walking their path, and when they were within the communities where people work so synchronistic with each other, they would identify very in early stages the depth and the love and the passion a child had doing something, and they would send that child to that particular family which was prominently doing those things, whether they were collecting herbs or plants or making bows or learning how to track the animals or even do any type of strategies when they were going to battle. They would take and send those children, whether it was the young girls or young boys. They all had a tendency of taking and going to every specific family or lodge that had a tendency of having those specific gifts. And then what would happen is that everyone looked out for each other. And of course, when you have lodges or teepees or longhouses, you don't have keys or locks or doors. There's no purpose for them. There is no reason for them. And there was no reason for you to say something that was not true. And so there was a lot of things that had a tendency of being in alignment with energetic or heart energy. Mm. And that's what people, they don't realize that we can get back to that. But it's going to take some discipline. It's going to take some seeing things. It's like, and it's going to take a reality check within yourself of what you are ingesting. People would not take and go eat poison because that's crazy, because that would cease to exist. But they don't realize that there's numerous other types of poison, even in the media, that has a tendency of being perpetuated, that people have gotten themselves into a habit to integrating and ingesting them within themselves. And we know that everything influences everything else, and so does everything that you taste, you hear, and you see, and you listen to, and what you touch. They all are influential in aspects of your heart spirit, or where your soul is. And so what people don't realize when they start taking and really thinking, well, I am a higher vibration of being, but am I taking and ingesting a lower vibration of substance? And when they start taking and balancing those things out, I say, listen, I said, it's all a choice. That was your gift. That was the biggest gift you got, was that you have a choice to take and do these things. But you really need to look out to see what you are perpetuating, because you are a role model to every child, every mom, dad, and grandma, grandpa. You are role modeling specific habits and situations which unfortunately are now becoming common, and everybody wants to be kind of part of something bigger than themselves, and by doing these particular things they think that they're taking and supporting what's considered the norm. I take and look at it and say it's not the norm. It's something that was manifested or manufactured by humanity, and then they've taken, compounded it and said, this is the norm. If you want to be normal, you have to stay within these particular perimeters. And what the elders, when they have a attention setting, they would sit and speak from their hearts about these things, and they would take and get individuals to say, again, it's relevant to the aspects. Do you see a tree trying not to be a tree, a deer not trying to be a deer? You need to start to be a human being.
And I'm going to say something to that, because I hear people all the time when they make a mistake, they go, oh, I'm only human. And I think to myself, if you only knew what that meant. You are magnificent, you know, and it's okay, because, you know, mistakes are you know, meant to be, because you wouldn't be growing if you weren't trying something new. And we don't know in that moment whether, you know, to go that way or that way is the best way to go sometimes. It's just what you know in that moment. And, you know, speaking to that, you know, about mistakes, you know, we've been told, you know, and conditioned with beliefs, so, you know, about what sinning is. You know, we always hear about sin. And actually in the ancient days, and this is what I loved about you guys talking about the arrows, and I'd like to hear, you know, a little more about that too, is sinning at one time, when there was just the bow, you know, the bow and arrow and everything, was missing the mark. When you shot the bow, the arrow, at the mark that you were shooting at, and you missed the mark, that was called sinning. So that was to make a mistake. That's all that means. You know, we make sinning like, I mean, it's like an attack on our hearts. Like, oh my God, I sinned. I'm not going to go to the heaven on earth, or to heaven or anything. Yeah. And it's really not that at all. So that's something, you know, belief system I'd love to, you know, bring you into that place of, you know, being human. You are magnificent. You are special. Your heartbeat is a signature sound of you. That uniqueness of who you are is important to this world.
We were talking to some native elders some time back, and his name was Dave Chief, and he didn't learn how to speak English until he was in his mid-40s, and so he always spoke his language. And he met up with a priest, and the priest was talking about sin and about hell. And after the priest started talking to him about these particular things, and he says, would I go to hell if I didn't know about it? He goes, no. And then he said, then why did you tell me about it?
Right. Yeah. How profound is that? You know, keep your mouth shut. Don't push on me your belief and idiosyncrasies when they could actually do damage to me, and you know that. I mean, you know, that's the responsibility that we have, and I think that we walk in is to learn what our lessons are so that we can share with others, so that they in fact don't have to learn the same lessons unless that's part of their journey. But you know, when I think of the wisdom of the elders, I think of being in, and I think, Terry, you mentioned it, the light. And I love the greeting that actually specifically allows you to stand in the light. And I know you guys know that Cynthia and I both are involved in this project called the Permission Movement and the Permission Movement Experience. And you're actually going to be a part of the program on Monday. I'm so excited about that. But you know, it's like what we learn as we are, you know, being integrated into society, into our families, actually takes us out of the light that we were born in, that, you know, barring the best nurturing we could stay in. And I think that our lives end up being a reflection of how long and how strong we have been able to recognize and live in our light. Because you said it, Terry and Robert, we're connected with Source when we are in the light. And the great thing about it is that there's opportunities now for us to bring this information to the world, to enlighten others so that they can move into the light that they actually have within them that can come out and live higher lives. You know, I was talking earlier about the higher life, and there's different concepts on that. What's your take on the thinking higher life?
Well, first I want to take and touch upon aspects of what you're doing, and I love what you're doing, and I'm so happy that and honored that you've asked us to help participate. As you know, we've been teaching that particular grade level or that type of age of people for almost 4 generations. I mean, 4 decades, not 4 generations. I'm not that old. So, but initially, when you plant seeds of wisdom, and with that energetic love in that planting, something's bound to take and grow and build, and it'll really grow magnificently. And that is the future. Those children are the future of the world. And people are putting all their energies and so forth outwards when they really need to take a look inward to the aspects of what foundation in which they're building upon. And so and that's one of the reasons why we traveled so much. We were going to various schools, and then we got into universities, and then we got into corporations doing types of workshops, showing them how to take and plant these loving seeds, these seeds of respect, these seeds that have come through your heart, through that wisdom of those individuals that have walked before us. And each time that they spoke, people would stop and listen, because they knew that there was some tools that they could gain which could help them as they walk their own personal journey. And so that, and to me, that's initially where, you know, because there's so much light anyway, but initially you'll find grandmas that just glow when you speak to them, because they have discovered their own inner light and then added more to it. And everyone has a light within them. It's just a matter of taking and using a breath of kindness upon it to make it into a flame. And once it becomes a flame, then everyone stands around them saying, there's something beautiful about that person. I want to know more. And that happens with children. It happens with babies mostly. They're like glowing when it's and you will turn, if you're in a grocery store, you'll turn and they'll be smiling at you because they see your light. Right. Because they haven't been taught what's considered real or not real, or what's considered normal. They just embrace it all. And that's one of the reasons why they capture individuals that do walk a particular path, such as you and Cynthia, because you carry a high light within you. You continue to breathe in that part which is part of you, which feeds that flame. And doing so by taking and reaching out to other individuals and taking and seeking those individuals and showing where they actually fit within not only their life, but within your life, is causing it to really become a much brighter flame. And that's what we can do. We can be the catalyst of planting those seeds. And that really is what it's all about. Create the foundation, and you will get a more positive result. And there was a huge break within aspects of humanity and aspects of what they were focusing upon. And now we're starting to get individuals that are starting to take and turn toward their own inner light. And that's what I believe with the direction in which I hope to live long enough to be able to really see it happen in its magnificence.
I really want to share a message from our elders, if that would be all right.
Oh, please. Yeah.
When we were sitting at their feet, they shared so much wisdom and so much unconditional love. And one of the things that they asked us to share this message with the world is that every living being has a purpose. There is nothing, no thing, and no one in this universe that is here by accident. That every one of you here watching and listening, you have a purpose. And on the day you were born, the whole universe celebrated. The whole universe. And so if you think you came to play small, you've just not remembered yet who you really are. And the beauty of it is that there's never been anyone exactly like you in this world. Never throughout the entire history of existence has there been anyone exactly like you. And there never will be again. There never will be anyone who can fill the space that you fill. Your unique presence. We all are filled with light. We all come from the same divine source. But you being here matters. You matter. And your unique expression is based on all of your life experience. When you allow yourself to have the kind of relationship where you are the safest person to be with, when you are safe with yourself, when you can stop the self-loathing and criticism, when you can stop the inner judgment from taking over the reins and controlling your life, and you start to live with true freedom, you begin to express the gifts that are innate to you. And your light gets brighter and brighter and brighter, not because it's not like the light isn't there. It's always there. It's just like we have it cloaked, right? We have it cloaked in shame. We have it cloaked in fear, as you were saying, Lynn, that when we start to get free from all that criticism and judgment and the fear of not being accepted, then suddenly it's like the weight comes off and we're free to shine and we're free to fly. Now it's like our grandson Tristan one day came into the kitchen and he calls Robert Bunka, and he said, "Bunka," and Robert said, "Yes, little one," and he said, "I woke up," and he said, "You woke up?" And he said, "Yeah, I woke up to play." And in that moment, we realized this is a very awakened being, right? We're not here to pay our dues. So many people say, well, I deserve to be successful now because I've paid my dues. You don't have any dues to pay. You can set that one down. That's an illusion,
Woo!
right? Yeah, over and done with. You have no indebtedness. You didn't come in to have to work off. When you truly forgive yourself for anything that you feel you need to be forgiven for, when you forgive all others for anything you feel they need to be forgiven for, you're free. You are set free, and you can shine. You can play. And then when you have an experience and the feedback that you get is, "Oh yeah, no, that's not exactly what I wanted," you just correct your course, right? Instead of making it be about failure, it's just, this happens all the time in life. And I think Cynthia and Lynn in the Miracle Mindshift, you had that experience as you were going through the Mindshift where you get the awakening, like every airplane pilot and every commander of a ship knows that even on autopilot they must correct the course because the winds change sometimes, the currents change sometimes, and we can get blown a little bit off course. If we set out with the idea that we're never going to have to change anything, we're going to be in for a very stark awakening, right? Because if we just stay present, we know, okay, well that doesn't, as we're talking about, how does your heart feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel light? Do you feel full of joy? Are you able to freely be yourself? your loving presence, or are you feeling contracted? Are you feeling like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable here. This isn't quite. It's like a shoe that's too tight. I need to. And sometimes we need to stop a little bit. I was sharing with somebody earlier today on our How to Live on Purpose Ambassador call. Robert has a story that he tells. It's so beautiful about stepping into water, into a lake or a stream, and how the sediment will come up around your, it'll muck up the water initially. And life is like that. Sometimes when we make a step, we can't see where we're supposed to go next. Well, our logical mind will just tell us, keep moving, just go, right? But sometimes that's not what's being called for. Sometimes we need to just take a breath and be patient, stay grounded and centered, and wait for clarity. And that water will settle, and you'll see exactly where to step next. And it's this ancient wisdom of being in tune with yourself and with nature, the world, the environment around you, because nature is always speaking to you, always. And that's one of the things that I'm so grateful to my elders for, is reminding me I am part of nature. Nature is a part of me. It's always supporting me in all directions, right? In all four sacred directions, above and beneath me, within me, I am being supported. Life is for me, and if I can trust that, if I can listen to that, then I never have to be afraid. I'm not alone in this world. No one is ever alone in this world. We just sometimes forget that, and we pull all so far inside ourselves that we forget that we have help. There are helpers here.
Mm. Yeah. So you were asking, Cynthia, about the three arrows.
Yeah.
The three arrows of power is really significant when people start thinking about how they've applied their three arrows, and basically it's just really taking and thinking your thoughts. Your thoughts is your first arrow. And so you wouldn't take a bow and you wouldn't just shoot it randomly, because you don't know what you're going to hit. So you really think, what is your target? And then you speak to yourself. So your words is your second arrow. And then drawing that bow, when you're ready to release, that is the action. So your thoughts, your words, and your actions are the three arrows. But there's one other element that we don't always integrate in there, and that's your emotions. Where is your heart? Where is your state of mind? Before you even pick up that bow, it should be relevant and integrated as part of your objective.
Yeah. The emotions, wow. Yeah, and as Terri was talking about, about feeling, they are the energy in motion, the emotions, the feeling that we're getting. And I just having that feeling right now, and the love that I'm feeling from watching you two, having that opportunity to watch you two in this technology that we have today. Bringing, I posted a little, what was it? It was a little quote actually from Paulo Coelho, who wrote one of my favorite, The Alchemist, right?
Yeah,
and he said, to change the world, we need to combine ancient wisdom with technology, with new technology. And that was, so today, here we are, and I posted that earlier for our show today, because I was like, oh my gosh, because, I was having some issues actually with the technology that we're in. And again, that was moving through it, taking that time that Terri was talking about. I had to stand there for a moment and be patient and see what I needed to do next. And
I love that. Yeah, I love that, because initially when you say that, did you know that every computer, for it to even function, has to have an organic crystal in it? So there is harmony even there in the aspects of the unit which is sitting before you. Yeah. Everything has to have something that's organic for it to even be able to exist.
So true. Thank you for bringing that part in, as far as the crystals and everything. And listen to this, and what's beautiful is here we are able to crystallize. We're hearing each other's voices. Now, you guys are in California, right? And
Yes.
we have Lynn over in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm here in Colorado, which is originally where you guys are a lot of times.
Right.
But we're able to speak to one another and hear each other's voices. And we also see each other. We're using some of our five senses, but one of the main ones that we get an opportunity to do with this new technology is we can even feel, which takes us beyond the five senses, that feeling. And what the voice does, though, is it helps us feel many things. The song of our voice comes from our heart. And that's one of the things I teach about, the bio sounds of the body. It's called bioacoustics. And our heartbeat, as we were talking about, is the signature sound of you. And every experience you have adds to the experience of the heart, so that change is always happening. It's the only constant in the universe. And you guys have spoken of that within the Miracle Mind Shift. And I'm really fresh with the Miracle Mind Shift, everybody, because I've been taking it since January 1st. I've been doing it every day. And thank goodness, because I have gone through a lot of diversity this month. And the reason, the consistency, which is like the law of gravity that holds us grounded in those changes, that we're able to change through them more easily, is because of me being a part of the Miracle Mind Shift with the TallTrees. It has helped me make it through these challenges with ease because of the exercises they give you, the love that they really support you to have within your own heart. And so taking you back to the bio sounds of the heart, the heartbeat is a signature sound of you, but also it is going, from the heart, and it goes through the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve passes through the vocal cords. And so when we speak, we're speaking our heart. That sound, that's why, when I hear both Terri and Robert speak, I hear their hearts. I feel their hearts. In their voice. It's the song of their soul. It's the song of who they are, and it's making beautiful music in this world. And I'm just so, excited to be right here, and we're all together sharing in this this wonderful wisdom in all.
Well, Cynthia, that what the beautiful thing about the Miracle Mind Shift is, it's not just something that's like a movie where you watch it exactly over and over and over again. That individuals that have a tendency of realizing that it is not only brings things up from the depths of your soul and spirit, but also gives you some clarity of being able to take new actions. And also, as you write into the comment section, I monitor those, and I then talk to each individual from my heart. I make the impression through imprinting words upon the page so that they can see initially the painting which they're standing in. And that's how my elder said, is that it's just like when we used to do our pictographs. They would take and do these drawings upon stone. What they were doing was in creating a painting of showing an individual exactly where they were standing, and that allowed them to be able to take and make new choices within their life. The elders never said people right, wrong, good, or bad. What they did do is they were able to take and create such a magnificent picture within their heart and their mind that they'd be able to see where they were standing. And in doing so, it allowed them to be able to take and make their own dynamic choice. And I think that's the biggest empowerment that you can do for someone, is to awaken to them the confidence to make specific choices from that place, which they know are the right choices then.
Yeah, I agree. And, as you were talking, I really relate to the thoughts that you think and the words that you speak and the actions that you take. And it, for me, drew the picture of the archer who holds the bow and pulls the arrow back, and it comes back heart level.
Yes.
And I've seen that before. I've always been drawn to archery. I think had things been a little different for me growing up, I probably would have been in archery classes and just had a heart for it. And it was so funny because I spoke of it so often that for Christmas I got one of those indoor archery sets from Santa Claus. And all I could think of was, oh yes, and it wasn't so much the hitting the target. It was really me realizing that in the energy that you're expending to pull the arrow back and to really focus on where you want it to go requires two things. The first being heart level, and the second being the breathing that you do, that is coordinated with the heart in order for you to have the steady release. And the other thing was the strength, the power within which that arrow goes forth comes from the heart and the heart energy with the breathing. And I mean, this is just, I'm just in heaven as I think about all of this, and as I move more expeditionally into what this is all bringing to me. So I just want to take a second to say thank you, because a lot of the awarenesses that I too have come to have been because of doing the Miracle Mindshift. And I did it in October the first time. Huge things came to life, and not only came to life, but came to the place where I was able to examine them. And you talked about it, Terri and Robert, with unconditional love. And you know, if it was something that I could look at and expand upon, that happened. If it was something that needed to be released, that could happen. And it just brought up such beautiful resolves. I think I remember writing about something that had been resolved, and Robert, your response back was just so beautiful, and you are so right. I have read many of the comments that you have put out there, and to see the heart spoken in the words on those on the paper, in the computer, is just a beautiful thing. Sets a great example for those of us who aspire to do the same.
Well, the training, I have to give full credit to those elders who I had an opportunity to be around. You know, the medicine men, the spiritual leaders, the chiefs. You know, my father left when I was only 2, and so my biological, I don't know anything about him, had no pictures or anything else about him other than I knew that he was Apache, so and my mother's Chippewa. So, but other than that, I used to think very early in my life that because he was not there for me or around me or to guide me, that maybe I did not have personal value or even worth, or why am I here? Kind of all these questions come up as a young child. But initially what happened is that there was a shift that came about being around those elders. And finally, it wasn't that it needed to be said. It was all of a sudden a moment where it just came together, the realization that my father must have been a great man, because look at all the wisdom of these teachers that have to come in, that are still coming into my life to try to fill that void, that space. So now it's a different painting within my mind and my heart, that if he hadn't have stepped out, I wouldn't be here today carrying the wisdom of those ancestors. And so there is a reason for everything. We don't always have an opportunity to see it immediately. Sometimes it takes years. But eventually, I really feel if we're not here, then when we're on the other side, we'll see it there.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And, you know, as I think about, you know, that I went through a huge trauma a couple of years ago that caused some huge shifts in my life and opened the door to a lot of, I guess just coming to understand what, or ask the question, why am I really here? If this is happening, and this is happening, and that's happening, and I'm talking devastation kind of things, you know, why am I here? And then things start, it's exactly what you said, things start happening, people start showing up. You know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And to have migrated, well, actually not even migrated, but actually emerged into that student. You know, for our audience, what would you say to help someone to really allow that seed that is attempting to emerge or is already emerging to feel the love and the desire to continue to grow and to bloom and to emerge, because we all have more potential than where we are now, or actually where we can even think we might want to be. What would you tell them?
Well, I would start off first with a story that was taught to me by Chief Little Elk when I was walking alongside him, and I stopped and I saw a blade of grass that had broken through concrete, and this concrete was several inches thick. And I stopped and I looked at that, and he stopped and he watched me. He studied me as I was taking, and I knelt down and saw that beautiful, soft blade of grass that I could break with my fingertips. And he said, "Isn't that beautiful?" And I said, "How is it that this blade of grass can take and break through this concrete?" And he says, "You will find it breaking through any concrete. It does not matter how thick it is." And I said, "But how is this possible?" And he said, "Because no one taught that blade of grass that it couldn't do it."
Ah.
And so what I say to individuals when they want to really find that inner harmony with themselves is exactly what it is. It's not out beyond you, it's within you. But to observe nature, to observe a blade of grass, observe a bird, observe how the wind whispers upon the leaves of a tree, observe the shadows that the sun casts upon the lake. That is where you will find the answers. That is where you'll find the clarity. That is where you'll find yourself.
Beautiful. Really beautiful. You know,
Yeah.
I would say the one thing that I would share with people is that, and we touched on this very lightly earlier, that what you're experiencing as reality is perception through filters. And those filters come from your beliefs and attitudes, many of which are driving the bus, I like to say, at an unconscious level. And that your ability to shift your reality can happen in the blink of an eye. When you are able to let go, and Lynn, you know this, you were just alluding to it as in your first time through the Mindshift. And you know, just so people know, when you step into the Mindshift experience, the Miracle Mindshift, you have access to it forever. You can continue to do it, and much like a spiral, each time you go through the program again, it's a 31-day experience. Each time you decide to do it again, you will have even more happen. It doesn't stop. The process isn't a one-time thing, and you don't get any more value out of it. As long as you are willing to be present to it, you will continue to have amazing, miraculous breakthroughs. It's just the way that it works. But to know that reality isn't static. It's not set in stone. What you see as reality, what you're experiencing, whether you're feeling a lack of energy or a lack of well-being, if you're challenged physically with your health, or if you're experiencing financial lack, a lack of flow around money, even if you've done a great deal of work around abundance and prosperity, and you know that you live in an abundant world, but it's not showing up in your own bank account, in your physical reality, what you have been experiencing as reality can shift. And that happens as soon as we start to realize that whatever we are really believing is what we're experiencing. We don't have to dig. It doesn't take years and years to get through this stuff. All we have to do is look at our experience and go, do I want to know what my unconscious underlying beliefs are? Here they are. Here they are. And do I want to change them? Am I willing to change this for something more? Am I willing to let go of the beliefs that hold me in this pattern? And as you were saying, you know, when we can do that in a gentle, playful way, it's like boom, boom, boom. It happens so fast because there's no longer that anchor of that emotional intensity that holds it stuck. I remember as we were actually putting the Mindshift experience together, and that's a culmination of major miracles that have happened in both of our lives, we decided to look at what preceded the big breakthroughs that we had, because both of us have come from life-threatening physical challenges and near-death experiences, poverty. To have such miraculous breakthroughs, what preceded those breakthroughs each time? And we started to recognize it wasn't just by chance. There were very specific things happening each time. So we put together the program so other people could start to understand the process and create that in their own lives. When we were doing it, I was sitting one day at the table, got up early. I had a project I had been pretty much avoiding for about 2 months. I just couldn't get myself to do it. I couldn't get motivated to do it. And during those 2 months, I was like beating myself up about what a bad person I was, that I wasn't getting it done, and all the negative self-talk. And for some reason, I was in the middle of creating the Mindshift program, and I sat down at the dining room table and just knocked this whole thing out that I had thought was going to be so much effort. In like 2 hours, it was done. It was just like easy, and it was so easy, and I had so much fun doing it. And I was about 10 minutes away from finishing it, and I suddenly found myself in the kitchen. I didn't even know how I got there. I literally didn't remember standing up and walking into the kitchen. I didn't remember thinking I should go into the kitchen or anything. I just was there. And suddenly I woke up. It was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I just stood there for a minute, and I realized that my mind sent me a thought. Oh, you haven't had anything to drink yet this morning. You always start with a warm cup of something. You better go do that right now. And I stopped, and I thought, this is where I stop. I stop right before the finish line. This has been my, in my life, one of the ways that I've kept myself little, because I felt like if I didn't finish, then I couldn't be criticized, that it wasn't good enough, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't deserving of love. Right? That's really how the whole pattern went. It was like you pull on this little thread, and all of a sudden the whole ball of yarn comes to you, and it's like, holy cow, all this because I was afraid I wouldn't be loved. So there I was, like getting something to drink, and I'm like, no, this is a pattern. I've seen it so many times. Now I see it. It's not unconscious anymore. It's not unconscious. I just outed this without any effort whatsoever. And so I went back and I finished up my project. I celebrated. I was happy. And now any time that comes up for me where I'm going to stop right before the end, it's so obvious. It's so obvious to me, and I just giggle about it. It's like, oh, no, no, no. You're not going to catch me this time. I'm going to finish, and then we can play. It's so different for me where it used to be. So I no longer have to go through the beat up about avoidance. I don't have to go through the beat up about not finishing it. I get to free up all that energy, and that's just one little tiny piece of what Mindshift for me represents, is to set myself free. And Mindshift, just so you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, Mindshift is a constant process for me. I continue to do the Mindshift program because it has brought so many miracles into my life that I don't see a reason not to continue doing it.
The one thing that's unique about the Miracle Mindshift is it's an investment in yourself, is basically what it is. But each time individuals decides to go through that 31 days process, I meet them there. So when they write a comment in, whether it's the third time, fourth time, fifth time, it doesn't really matter how many times they use the Miracle Mindshift. If they're willing to take and invest that moment of their life, I'm willing to meet them. And in doing so, that's the beauty about it, is because I really love the Miracle Mindshift, and I love the people that are taking and opening up like beautiful flowers. And I see so much more light each time they open up. And to me, that's what I love most about the Miracle Mindshift, is that part of it. So individuals that like I said, that when they invest in the first round of attaining it, it's theirs forever. And each time they come through and dial in and go through it, I say, welcome back. I've missed you. How is your family? How's this or how's that? Because we have created these unique heart relationships, and I really believe that sometimes we don't believe we deserve to have that type of relationship, and then we hold ourselves back from participating in all the things that are just right there for the taking, as they should be. It's like waiting for the fruit on the tree. You take one because you only think you deserve one, but the tree is standing there with all these others ready to be taken too. And if you have more than you need, then you have the beauty to give them away. I mean, that's what is abundance. Everything passes through us, and nothing's permanent to begin with. So in the aspects of us being able to take and have this abundance from the fruit tree, we then can feed so many more. And I know that's what you, Lynn, and what Cynthia's doing also, is you have taken and opened so many doors and changed so many lives with your passions and your love and your ability to be able to take and say, you know what, I know you don't know me, but I love you. And so many people, they get kind of flustered about that, and they say, maybe not how you understand, but after you get to know me, you'll realize that I can love you unconditionally. You know, because there's an open page between us right now. How do you want to write this part of your life?
Yes, yes. And you know, that's what starts the fun stuff. Oh, you know, when you have that ability to say, I can make it what I want it to be, what I'd love for it to be. And, you know, it reminds me of how Cynthia and I actually began working with each other. It was, you can help me and I can help you, and from there it became a larger conversation, and then from there the conversation turned from conversation, you know how two people can just talk to each other, into the expression of ourselves. And that brought about the deeper conversations that took us to a higher level. And now we're partnering to do so many good things out in the world, and it's really made the joy factor, the fun factor, come into the work that both of us are doing. Not only do we both say that we can share the things that come up that we need to bounce things off of someone, and you know, get that nudge in the arm, or you know, the verbal kick in the butt. But that's part of what stimulates us. Cynthia often talks about emotion is the life in motion, and bringing that out is part of what collaborations and the co-creative thinking, the we versus the I, you know, and that's the space that I do believe that when we flow in, so many other opportunities present themselves. And that's what has happened with me since I've been introduced to you guys. And I don't know if you know this or not. I'm just going to share this really quickly, but Andrea Wolf actually introduced me to you guys. And it had to have been in mid-2013. And then as I got, you know, more entrenched in the larger community, and I'm seeing you guys, and I'm like, oh, I love these guys. Not only was it your message that resonated with me and in the work that I do, it was the seeing the example of how you guys move in the world and share not only yourselves, but your passion about the work that you do, and the reach that you would like to have. And part of that was the inspiration that helped me to say, okay, it's time to step up. I see other people doing it, and I know that this, I realize now that this is my purpose, and it is a huge, it's a huge thing in my life, because it is it's everything that I had written in my business plan, you know, the go global, you know, do it big, the $1 million bottom line, and all of those things. Yet until that point in time, I was doing that, Terry. I was saying, you know, but I need to do this, and I need to do that, and maybe if I wait a day, and you know, and those things still creep up. And I have to say, you know, going through Miracle Mindshift a second time was when things shifted to where I think the two of us actually took it to another level. The first time was just before launching the Permission Movement experience, so that was a huge step up for me.
Right.
And then the second time was really us in the process of the being, our individual selves and our collective efforts, and then seeing what came out of that. And our desire too is to give a lot of that to the communities that we are in. And you know, the people who are coming to the Adventures of the Heart. And Cynthia has this way of just, you know, expressing things. And I'm like, okay. Okay, she does that so well. So I look at the places where I am so much the student, and there are places where I am so truly the teacher, and it's exhilarating. It is the place where I believe that each of us who, when we find our purpose, really lands. That, you know, kind of, well, for me, the center of the life is knowing that I am student and teacher, and I have lived life to have some teaching to tell. And I found myself telling a little 8-year-old girl the same thing. And she stood in front of me and sprouted out some wisdom that she had, and all I could say was, I like that.
She was that blade of grass.
Exactly.
So,
You know, the world is filled with realists, I think too many, and then there's the optimists, and then there's the visionaries. And to me, I like to push to be as a visionary because I feel I have so much more fun in discovery. And finding those individuals that are the visionaries really are the point of the spear, or the point of the arrow. They're the ones that actually make the way or make the new pathways for the individuals to follow. And there will always be those individuals that will take and are willing to take those particular steps, which are really quite scary to many individuals. But when you take those steps, you find that you see so much more because you're not standing behind someone, you're standing right out in front. And yeah, sometimes because of that, you end up taking a few whacks from the trees that you're trying to go through, making new paths. But initially, you still get that opportunity to really see how life can be, to see things first before they were even discovered by anyone else. And so that's what somebody had said to Terry and I, said that you are the point of the arrow. And I realized what they were talking about is that the point has to lead. It has to take and gel with the wind to be able to take and allow everything else to flow easier behind it. And so that's what you're doing right now in your creativeness and moving into technology, and then letting the reins go on some of that technology with other individuals who do that even better than maybe you or I, and doing what we do best. And so Terry, in her life and the companies and corporations that she has run, had to start coming to that particular point that she doesn't need to do all those things because it's not in conjunction or in alignment with her vibration of what she was born to do. And we have a very dear friend, he's a multimillionaire, and he said, you know what, I'm happy when I have a tendency of having a team that is willing to do at least up to 70 to 80% of the way I would do it. And I have to let that go, because if I take it upon myself to take and correct it by that 20%, then I will spend most of my time just doing that rather than doing what I love to do. And so letting go some of the reins is a good thing to do. Letting other people take and really help you, or even asking for help. And so many times somebody will say, I am so happy that you asked me. I was wondering why you hadn't, but I didn't want to intrude. You know, I wanted to be very respectful of what your wishes are. And I say, well, sometimes I get caught up into being more of some old thought processes and thinking of what society says, what is my particular limitations, and I sometimes fall back and I say, no, that's no statement. I know that's not real, but it has a tendency of being something that I used to use as law. Now it's no longer a law. What it is a fantasy that somebody tried to impose upon me. It's fictitious in the aspects of truly what the power of a human being and how much that you can accomplish with your mind, your body, your spirit, and your emotions. People are living so small. They need to take and have bigger dreams and really go for them. And that's where the vision comes in. That's where that really makes the difference, because you will accomplish more than you ever thought you could before in every relationship in which you have, every single relationship that you have, whether it's a relationship with your partner, relationship with money, relationship with a great mystery, the Creator God. Your relationships all begin with how you see yourself. That has to be the dynamic. You got to be your own best friend. You got to be your own best lover. You got to really be there for yourself, and really realize that that's connected to your heart, your spirit, your soul, and that's that's the foundation. Just as we were talking, how what you're doing with these young children in the future, that's the foundation. You're planting seeds, getting them connected with self, and realizing that they're here because the dynamics of it, even before they came through their parents, was that that essence was created from pure love. It had to be. It had to be, because you would not be able to even breathe if it wasn't. And so when you find that, go back to the aspects of where it is the source of all things, you will find that that's where it began. So you can't not be or have that ability or that energy within you. You have it all through you, and It started with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
I
are.
Go ahead, Terri.
I was just going to say, you are a miracle. So you can expect miracles in your life, right? You can expect them because you are one.
Absolutely. Yes. And I like to speak to, the self, and I have an acronym for that, and SELF is the source energy love frequency that you are, the self. It all begins with you. And just like they said here, and you are the flowering light. That's, you're blooming and flowering out into the world, and we all want to see it. I mean, the flowers, that's the beautiful thing about nature. They don't stop to look to see if anybody notices them, or they don't stop to look to see to bloom. They just bloom. They just are who they are, and they're all different. I mean, I remember riding my horse and going out, and every time I went out, there was a new bunch of flowers coming up in the spring, and I just honored and admired every single one of them. They were different colors, they were different fragrances, they were different size and shapes and thorns and whatever. And I thought to myself, God, this is just like every human being. Why don't we see the beauty in each one of us like we do the flowers? So really, let's all bloom. Okay.
We were at a large venue where we were keynote speakers and instructors. But every time that we were on a break, that people would see us before they got in, they would walk past all these roses, and we literally would have our noses right in the roses. And they were kidding and laughing about it, and even pointing out. They go, "There's the tall trees. If you want to find the tall trees, they have their noses in the roses." And I said, that is one of the highest vibrations, that there is in the world, is the essence of a rose. And I said, you don't get it. When you have an opportunity, take it. Take it, integrate yourself, and allow that to become part of you. I said, there's a reason why I do that. And you can laugh if you want, you can take and scoff it, or do whatever you want, but try it first before you take it any further. And pretty soon there was no more roses for me to be able to grab, because these other people were in them. So I don't know if I should have let them in on that secret.
So hence, stop and smell the roses, everyone. And I'm really happy that everybody's come here to join us. I am looking at the time, and we do have to honor the time we have allowed for this time. But we also want to, finish up with, really what this was all about. I hope that you received this ancient wisdom, which is a part of all of us, and it still is. But we have, as Terri has said to me as I started out with this, we have just been unaware of our connection to it. Always, all things. I remember having an experience with someone that actually had transitioned, so to speak, and they said to me, "I'm everything and I'm no thing." And what did that mean to me? Wow, I'm everything and no thing also, and so are you. Our hearts actually take us to that place of everything and no thing, because it's just that heartbeat. And just one more thing I want to speak to too is about control. So many people are out there trying to control their lives, controlling how people are doing things, and then punishing others for not doing it your way, or you get punished for people not, someone not doing it that way, or whatever. And being a massage therapist, working with people and and taking their limbs and then going, oh my God, they're trying to control it because they're not used to someone moving their limbs around. And I used to have to find a way to say, hey, just drop your arm. And the first time when I first started doing massage, I said to the guy, I go, relax. And he says, that's what I'm coming to you for. That's your expertise. And so then, as I went on, there was another man who was constantly trying to control everything. And I said to him, can you relax right now? And he said, well, no. And I said, then you don't have control over everything. So, we all think that we have control over everything. That if we do it this way or we do it that way, and we, create those limitations for ourselves rather than allowing things to just be in the flow, the energy and motion that is here to be, for you to be. And what I ended up saying to him is, stop trying to control life and start living it. Because control is contraction.
That's right.
And with your hearts, it's about, your hearts can command and allow yourself to expand and enhance your life, not control it. So I want to thank you so much. So I'm going to allow you guys. I'm going to invite you and encourage you to leave us with that wisdom that you want everybody to walk away with. What our takeaways of what we received in this moment. So I just kind of shared, kind of tied some things up there, and I just want to, say that to the TallTrees, to have them say that. And Lynn, I would love for you to finish up this whole show that we've had here, because you always have the wisest words, and to also get out what we have to offer and everything here today. So.
Okay. Well, the TallTrees have brought to our audience an amazing opportunity, and I'm going to tell you what it is. We're going to post in the comments how you can get to it, but it is a special offer to do the Miracle Mindshift program. And I'm so excited for you to have this opportunity, because if you've been someone who's looked for an answer, and you've looked over here, or you've asked someone for an answer to this, and what you've heard in the past and maybe not believed is that the answers are within you, sometimes we just need some help to help it to emerge. And that's what the Miracle Mindshift program does. It helps you to help those answers to emerge, and it helps those understandings and awakenings and awarenesses to come into the light, so that you can really stand in your power. You can stand fully in the light, being confident about who you are and why you're here. And I love that, because first time through, there were a lot of confusing things that came up for me. But even talking into the community and hearing the responses that I got back, I was able to reflect. And if you are ready for something like this, if you think you're almost ready, or if you're not ready, do it anyway. And Terri and Robert, why don't you tell a little bit about, what the Miracle Mindshift is and how you set it up to work?
The Mindshift is a 31-day program, and it's a complete experience. As you make the commitment, as soon as you commit to do it, things are going to start to shift. From the very first moment when you step through that doorway, and you may wonder, what's going to happen. I can promise you that by committing 31 days of consistent small action, and when I say small, we ask that you do an exercise every day that takes a few minutes, and you can do it in about 10 minutes. You can take longer if you like. Usually I like to take about 20 minutes. I do it first thing in the morning. Some people do it just before they go to bed at night. You can do it anytime throughout the day. And it's a process of tuning into your own inner wisdom. But you're guided through that process, and every day you'll receive an audio that helps you be aware of the traps that your mind sets for you. And it's so tricky. You know, we talk about the trickster. It's very slippery. And you'll begin to see what has held you back in the past, what has kept your good from you, and how you have been so close to many things, but let them slip through, stay just barely out of reach. It gives you the power to master your mind. And Robert always says, you know, the mind is a powerful servant, but it's a terrible master. Most people allow their mind to master them rather than mastering their mind. So it's a process. And one of the things that we find for people is the greatest barrier to having breakthrough is that they don't have consistency. So when we created Mindshift, we set it up so that a very small amount of time, a very small amount of energy, done consistently day after day for 31 days is life-changing, absolutely life-changing. And you can expect miracles to happen in that period of time. And you're not, as Robert said, you're not doing it alone. You're getting a daily reminder to do your practice. You're given a specific practice to do and a little audio with our support, as well as the community where we personally respond to any comment, any challenge, any breakthrough, any celebration that you have in this private community, the Mindshift community. We are right there with you so that you're not alone. And you can have, even if you feel like, you know, sometimes you'll get like, oh, I almost didn't do it today, but then I remembered, you know, and I did it. And it's so very, very powerful to learn how little, most people think it's going to take a huge amount of effort to achieve their dreams. It's a small amount of effort with laser-like clarity. And that's what you learn in Mindshift, how to do that.
We're getting little blips up upon our screen of individuals that say, yes, I want this. I am so happy that, you know, I got this. And we're getting little blips coming up on our screen. But so that, to me, that's what it's about. We are all heart people. Awakening your heart is what's really our objective. And getting you to realize your importance. And getting you to realize that that importance is waiting. The world is waiting for you to express who you are. That's what the world is waiting for. And when you touch it upon that, and you put a breath of life upon that flame that's within your heart, it will become a huge fire. And it'll light the path through the darkness for many. That's what your purpose is. Because that's what's going to bring you the greatest joy and the greatest love. And when you stand before the Maker, you will realize and know that you have lived a good life.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I have to say that if you're out there and you're watching this, whether you're in our live audience or watching the recording, this is something that you don't want to pass up. So here's how you get to the information. You want to go to heartmonics.org. That's HERTMONICS, heartmonics.org/Mindshift. So heartmonics.org/Mindshift will take you to the page where you can jump right on this and just do it. You won't regret it. As a matter of fact, you'll be part of the community. You'll be seeing some of the stuff that we're posting, that Robert and Terri are posting in response, that others in the community are posting. And the neat thing about it is that what others are posting about a lot of times are things that are relative, but hadn't even thought about it. Yeah. And so I appreciate being able to be a part of that, to have that additional opportunity to see things as they're coming up and address them before they come up, so when they don't come up. But Terri and Robert, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's always such a pleasure to be in your company. Cynthia and I, again, have been talking about this for the longest, and now that it's here, it's just been amazing as usual, and I look forward to doing it again on Monday and many days after that. So thank you again for being here. Thank you, Cynthia, for being a fabulous co-host. Thank you to our audience. We love you. We want to see you back here next week, same time, same place, because we've got another wonderful program for you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yep, and I'm just going to end with breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. I love you all.
Cool. Thanks. Bye-bye for now.